All right there, everyone. The case of Jeffrey Epstein reveals just how heinous left-wing globalists really are. That's what we'll be talking about on today's video. And I'm not just talking Epstein. We're going to find out how Epstein in many ways is just the tip of the iceberg. But first, the recent earthquakes in Southern California remind all of us just how fragile life really is. And so we have to ask ourselves, when emergencies strike, are we prepared for days without electricity and stores being damaged and closed? And if not, then today's a good day to start to prepare, and you can do that easily with My Patriot Supply, a good friend of this channel. Now, this week, they're running a sale price for a 2-week emergency food kit on my special website where you could save 40% off the price. 40%! I mean, you get breakfasts, lunches, dinners, it all last up to 25 years in storage and are shipped conveniently right to your front door. So don't wait. Click on the link below and get prepared today. All right, so Ann Coulter has a fantastic article on the whole Jeffrey Epstein controversy. Now, if you're not familiar with who this Epstein fellow is or what the whole controversy is, he's a billionaire hedge fund manager who's hobnobbed with all the who's who of the globalist elite, right? So we're talking presidents, princes, Hollywood elite, you name it. He is a major left-wing Democratic donor. He's given the party hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years. But he is now being charged with sexually abusing literally dozens of underage girls in a case of sex trafficking from the early 2000s. But as Ann Coulter explains it, to understand what's going on now, to fully understand just how heinous all of this is, and I'm not talking solely about the sickening exploits of Epstein. All right, I'm talking about the heinousness of secular liberal globalists, both politicians and so-called journalists, left-wing activists who disguise themselves as journalists. To understand how heinous this all is, we actually have to go back over 10 years ago to 2005. Then the Palm Beach police were informed by a mother of a young girl in West Palm Beach that her daughter had been brought to Epstein's mansions and propositioned to have sex for money. Now, this ended up kicking off an extensive 1-year investigation. In the process of that investigation, police interviewed 17 witnesses who saw all sorts of sex toys and paraphernalia in Epstein's mansion after underage girls had been there. There was a young woman who admitted that she was paid $200 for every teenage girl she successfully brought to Epstein. Investigators tracked down 5 of those girls, each of whom admitted that they were paid between $200 and $300 to engage in various sex acts with him. And when police raided his mansion, they found tons of sexually explicit photographs of teenage girls. Now, if that's not outrageous enough, when the chief of police presented all this evidence to Palm Beach County's Democratic prosecutor, Barry Krischer actually turned around and charged Epstein. Get this. He charged Epstein with 1 count of soliciting prostitution. Yes, he labeled these children prostitutes and in turn offered Epstein probation. Now keep in mind, as Coulter points out, this is the same prosecutor, this Barry Krischer, who hounded the conservative talk radio host Rush Limbaugh for 3 freaking years for abusing back pain medication. And so as a result, the police chief blew up. He wasn't having any of this. He was so mad about this. So he turned to the Bush administration to seek justice against this obvious child rapist. And that's when the story about a major Democratic billionaire donor being protected by a Democratic county prosecutor started making news. Well, kinda made news. You see, it was picked up in the British press. It was picked up in the Florida media. Fox News talked about it. But CNN and MSNBC, they didn't breathe a word about it. They didn't elicit so much as a peep about a Democratic prosecutor refusing to charge a billionaire Democratic donor in multiple counts of child rape. Now, as a result of the federal investigation, which was led by Republicans, of course, Epstein had to plead guilty to 2 state felony charges, which got him 2 years in prison. Again, when that happened, not a whimper from MSNBC or CNN. And to make matters even worse, Democratic county prison officials placed Epstein in a private wing of the county jail and allowed him to spend 12 hours a day, 6 days a week at his mansion throughout his entire sentence. However, in 2014, conservative lawyers brought suit against the federal prosecutors for violating a Victims' Rights Act in this whole Epstein case. And this is when the testimonies of the various underage victims were made public. That's when they reported that there were a number of guests at one of at Epstein's mansions in a Caribbean island, that among the guests that have come out there were one former President Bill Clinton, also Prince Andrew, a bunch of others. And this is when the news broke. CNN had to cover it. And CNN did cover all the celebrities that ended up at that orgy island, but not once did they mention Bill Clinton. MSNBC did the same thing. They apparently devoted one show to the scandal, but omitted any mention of Bill Clinton being involved. But then something happened. The media found a picture proving that Epstein had visited Trump's mansion in Florida, and they found a quote where Trump once said that he thought Epstein was a good guy. It was a quote going back to 2002. And as Ann Coulter pointed out, the floodgates opened, right? It didn't matter if Epstein was one of the hundreds of thousands of people to visit Mar-a-Lago, Trump's mansion, just as hundreds of thousands have visited Grand Canyon or the Empire State Building. None of that mattered. The very second that the corporatist, globalist, left-wing media found a connection between Epstein and Trump, boom, the story broke. Lawrence O'Donnell, again, a left-wing activist disguised as a journalist, got onto MSNBC and celebrated Jeffrey Epstein as a friend of Donald Trump, a child sex trafficking, child rapist friend of Donald Trump. This is all you need to know about who these people are. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Polish psychologist Andrew Lobachevsky, okay? But he studied the Marxist elite, communist elite for 40 years. He studied Marxist elites, he studied Nazi elites, and he concluded, this psychologist, they really are psychopaths. And when the world is run by psychopaths, it becomes hysterical. It literally becomes insane. And I couldn't diagnose the situation better than that. Epstein and the Democrats and the Democratic communication wing, known as the mainstream media, the corporatist, globalist media, they really are all psychotic. There's no point in trying to figure them out. They care nothing. Not one whit for these girls. They don't give a rip about justice. They don't care about Epstein and what he did or allegedly did, whatever. They don't care about the admitted indiscretions of Bill Clinton and him visiting Orgy Island. All they care about is power. That's it. All they care about is their own power, their own elite status in a globalized world that rules the masses in accordance with the supposedly salvific whims of a secular aristocratic elite into which these useful idiots in the corporatist media have been admitted. Democrats and politics and media work together to try to pull off this charade. But the beauty in it all is that it's all collapsing on them. That's why they hate Trump so much. Keep that in mind every time you start to think that Trump is just another globalist, as sometimes the comments show me. All you have to do is look at how globalists treat him. They hate him, which means that they hate us. And they hate us because we're winning. We're winning. And they are losing. They're losing their power. They're losing their influence. No one gives a rip about what the media says anymore. Every major poll taken over the course of the last 20 years shows that the corporatist globalist media has lost the trust of the vast majority of the American people. They've lost, and they know it, but they don't care. They don't care. They're not going down without a fight. And so there's really no other way of saying it. The case of Jeffrey Epstein reveals just how heinous left-wing globalists really are. As always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Check out some of our awesome coffee mugs and t-shirts that celebrate all things nationalist, populist, and traditionalist that you're just going to love. And please click on either our Patreon, Subscribe Star, or PayPal links below and consider becoming a monthly or one-time supporter of this channel and help us to continue to analyze current events in light of super awesome conservative trends so you can live in the present light of even better things to come. God bless.